pleasure. Let me begin by thanking the people who worked so hard to set this up and have been running the program. First and foremost, the greatest public servant in the state of New York, Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy. We thank him very much. He's really been masterful, Bob, in the way he's been all around the state. He's been working with all the regional councils. He's the Energizer Bunny for economic development statewide. And Kenneth Adams and the whole team at ESDC that's been doing a great job. I want to publicly thank them, not just for this, but for the whole program. And for all of you who've been working so hard and accepted this assignment a couple of years ago, maybe not knowing fully how difficult it was going to be. But let's give yourselves a round of applause for all the time you've been taking. A couple of points, if I can, while I have you here, and then I'll turn it over to the Lieutenant Governor and we'll get to work. This is going to be the third round, believe it or not, already, of the applications that are going to be coming in. And it seems like just yesterday we sat down and we started to talk about the concept, but it's actually going to be the third round now. And for me, I go back to the old Empowerment Zone program during the Clinton administration. And we worked on that program for about 8 years. And some of you were involved in that. And I remember the trajectory and the growth of the Empowerment Zone program over the years. And it grew and it evolved and it matured as it went along. And at an amazingly rapid rate, because it was a radical departure. It was a radically different policy and program. Kenneth remembers those days. And when we put people together and you put that energy in a room, it morphed and it changed and it evolved and it grew dramatically. And this is doing the same exact thing. The advancements, the sophistication is really amazing. And as we start now getting ready for the third round, talking about where we are, a couple of thoughts on how these policies are all really coming together and how you can see it now working on a statewide level. On the state side, we have we call this project E squared, E2, which is education and an economic development continuum. Now, even that point is a radically different point than the past. People think they are educators, right? And we have a whole education silo, an education world, or they are economic development people. And that's a different discipline, and that's a different silo. And we had education and we had economic development, except you really don't. And the regions that are doing well around the world are the ones who have the education policy aligned as a continuum leading up and through economic development. Those are the regions that are doing well, and those are the regions that are growing. It's not education or economic development, it's the blend. It's the educational system going up and through the economic development system. And that's what we have been doing on a statewide level. A lot of emphasis on primary and secondary education. Why? Because there we're looking for a fundamental paradigm shift. You look at how we educate our young people compared to what we now know, and it's night and day. You look at what we're paying for in this state and what we're getting, and it's night and day. We pay more to educate a child in this state than any state in the nation. Period. Period. And our results are less than mediocre at best. At best. All the training says it's about early education and about the young brain. We don't even have a universal pre-K in this state. So it is really a paradigm shift in primary and secondary education. We proposed in the State of the State this year longer school days. We still have an agrarian calendar. The other countries are just spending more hours with their children. We are just started this year an evaluation system in primary education. First time we've had a basic evaluation system. So we've done a lot of work there. The higher education and taking the SUNY system, our public system, which was a visionary idea and a beautiful democratic idea with a small d, a quality higher education for every child in this state at an affordable cost. What a beautiful idea. SUNY, in truth, was not invested in over the years, and we have catch-up work to do in SUNY, and that's what the SUNY 2020 is all about, and the CUNY in New York City 2020 is all about, redoing the community college approach. You can't just train for an abstract job. You have to train for the job. That's our job linkage program. That's part of this vision. And then we go to the area where we've been pushing primarily with the REDCs, the tech transfer area, which is where this state loses to other states. If you say, where do we lose the jobs? It's that tech transfer space. California beats us, Massachusetts beats us, Texas beats us, right in that window. You know, where do we lose our competitive edge? Right at tech transfer. And we've spent a lot of time working on this. Part of it is cultural. Part of it is the other states, the academics in other states think and act more entrepreneurially. They're academics, but they're thinking, how do I use this product, this university, to work with the economy? And we talk about entrepreneurial academics. And people say that's an oxymoron. No, it's not. It's really not. You can be a great academic, and you can also be entrepreneurial. You can have a great institution of higher learning, and you can also be entrepreneurial. And focusing on that tech transfer space, the R&D clusters, the academic industry collaborations, business incubators, the venture capital funds, investing in New York companies and keeping them in New York rather than investing and taking them to California. What we call the hot spots, that's all in the tech transfer space. And ultimately, this only works if you've created a business-friendly environment. And that's so much of what we're doing here statewide. Get the taxes down and say to the business community, you get it, and the arrow's pointed in the right direction. That's job one, countering the reputation, high tax, anti-business state. The way we call it entrepreneurial academics, the transition in academia, we call it entrepreneurial government. And if you think entrepreneurial academics was an oxymoron, entrepreneurial government really is an oxymoron. How do we become an active partner? How do we find niche economies and partner with them? That's what we do with the dairy industry, the spirits industry, tourism industry. So that's part of that continuum. But it all works together, and it all blends together. And all of this only happens on a community level. You know, we can set the template in the state, and we can advocate policies, and we can provide fundings. But that only becomes real when you make it real. And it's harder than the devil is in the details. The devil is in the application. The devil is in the practicality. You know, we can sit here and say, in theory, you want to get everybody to work together. What is an REDC? Everybody around one table, everybody collaborating and cooperating, not competing. Yeah, no, thank you. It's a great idea, great advice. City and the county should work together. Public and private sector should work together. Yeah, and I should get along better with my in-laws. I understand the concept. It's just very hard in practice. And we know that. And we know that we've been very ambitious about the goal that we set. And it's hard. But the progress that you have made has been extraordinary. And if we had a discussion 2.5 years ago about where would we be going into the third round after 2 years, what progress would we have made, I don't think anyone would have forecast this progress on any level. And that, my friends, is all due to you and your energy and your effort and your willingness to sit there and spend the time and invest in your community and bring people together, even when it's hard, and endure the naysayers and endure the critics, and get past the negative to insist on a positive and the affirmative. So kudos to all of you, because you really have done an extraordinary job. And kudos to my friend and person who I'm going to turn this over to now, who really has done extraordinary work, Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy. Bob.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Governor. Just very briefly, one of the recipes for success is a strong leader and a great team. And I want to give credit where credit is due here. This governor conceived this idea of the regional councils. It wasn't something that was brought up in a group or a think tank. He conceived this idea. He talked very passionately about it even before coming into office. And as the governor just said, it's hard to imagine what has happened since coming into office and where we are today with this. And he deserves the kudos, the credit. He birthed the idea, and the next part of it is a great team. I think a big part of this is the quality of people we have around the table, and the quality of people we have in these regional councils has been extraordinary. And I'll say from where I sit and everything I've listened to and read, there is no state in this country that is doing economic development in this fashion like New York is. And because of the governor, because of you, I think this state is, once again, in so many areas, a leader. It's been a great ride, and this is just only beginning. So we appreciate so much your time and attention. And the governor didn't say this, but I want to make an announcement. He is doubling your salaries for next year. That's already been in the budget. So we thank you for your great service. And I think to keep this moving along, we're going to start, before we start with the actual program, let's go around the table. There's a lot of folks here that might not know each other. Some most do. So I'm going to start in front with Brenda. We'll go right around. Just introduce yourself and where you're from. Brenda.
Buffalo Urban League, and I serve on the Western New York Regional Economic Development Council. Thank you.
Howard Zemsky, Managing Partner of Larkin Development, and I co-chair the Western New York Economic Council with Satish Tripathi.
Sandy Parker, President and CEO of the Rochester Business Alliance, and I serve on the Finger Lakes Regional Economic Development Council.
Hilda Rosario Escher, President and CEO of Ibero-American Action League, and I serve in the Finger Lakes Economic Council.
Harvey Stenger, President of Binghamton University. I'm the co-chair of the Southern Tier Regional Economic Development Council.
I'm Michael Stan, President of Tompkins County Area Development in the People's Republic of Ithaca. And, I also serve on the Southern Tier Regional Council and its Executive Committee.
I'm Rob Simpson of the Senate State Corporation for Economic Opportunity in Syracuse and the co-chair of the Central New York Council.
Nancy Canner, the Chancellor of Syracuse University, and I co-chair the Central New York Council.
Larry Gilroy, President of Gilroy, Kernan, and Gilroy, and co-chair of the Mohawk Valley region.
I'm Steve DeMille. I'm President of Mohawk Valley Edge, and I'm a member of the Mohawk Valley Regional Economic Development Council.
Good afternoon, Tom Maddox. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Taxation and Finance and a member of the Strategic Implementation Assessment Team.
I'm Roanne DeStito, Commissioner of the Office of General Services, and I too serve on the assessment team.
Ken Adams from Empire State Development.
I'm Andrew Cuomo. I didn't make the assessment team.
Bob Duffy, ditto.
Alan Calleros, College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering.
Cesar Morales, Secretary of State, and I did make the team.
Alicia Eve, Deputy Secretary for Economic Development.
Matt Driscoll, President and CEO of the Environmental Facilities Corporation, and I'm on the team as well.
Gary Douglas, President and CEO of the North Country Chamber of Commerce and co-chair of the North Country Regional Council.
Tony Collins, President of Clarkson University, co-chair with Gary, and I noticed that Rob and I each have a light grey suit on today. I'm just wondering about the significance, Rob.
Inter-regional cooperation.
Robert Jones, President of the University of Albany and co-chair of the Capital Region Economic Development Council.
Welcome.
Jim Barber, President and CEO of Albany Medical Center, also co-chair of the Capital Region Economic Development Council.
Good to see you.
Dennis Murray, President at Marist College and co-chair of the Mid-Hudson region with Dr. Lynn Schleifer.
Marsha Gordon, President and CEO of the Business Council of Westchester, and I serve on the Mid-Hudson Regional Council.
I'm Stuart Applebaum. I'm President of the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, and I'm here on behalf of the New York City Regional Economic Development Council.
Ken Knuckles, President and CEO of the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone, and I serve on the New York City Council.
Pat Edwards, City Community Development, and I serve on the Long Island Regional Council.
Stuart Rabinowitz, President of Hofstra University and co-chair of the Long Island Regional Council, and I'd be hard-pressed to tell you at this point which one was my day job.
Well, thank you all. Welcome. We have a brief PowerPoint I want to just go through very quickly, and then we're going to start the presentations. First of all, welcome to, this is the REDC Leadership Summit. And it's been said so many times, but this entire process really has transformed economic development across our state. It has brought a framework, and the whole point the governor's made since day one is having a bottom-up approach to economic development, which each of you have driven around the state. After 2 rounds, and one of the worst economic depressions that this country has seen, $1.5 billion the governor has invested. 1,400 projects have been supported with that money, and 75,000 jobs either created or retained across the state. And I think it's very significant, those numbers. And today is the kickoff of the long-awaited round 3 of the REDC competition. Governor has pledged, and again, in some very tough economic times with large budget gaps, $760 million in both state funding and tax incentives that will be awarded during this round. We have $220 million that has been set aside and been publicized already. It's $150 million in capital monies and $70 million in tax credits for the competition. $540 million in other state-supported programs through the CFA process. And this is the 2013 competition. Keyword competition. All 10 regions are going to compete against each other this time. There's going to be 5 regions. They'll be identified as top performers, and each of those top performers will receive $25 million each. So there's no subcategories. It's a straight-up competition among all 10. The remaining 5 will compete for the balance of $25 million. And also, each region is going to be eligible for up to $10 million in tax credits. What's a top performer? What's going to be required to demonstrate that? Number 1, the implementation of your strategic plans, and we get an update today on those in just a few minutes. Performance encouraging economic growth through job creation and investment. The identification of transformative projects that support collaboration. Some examples listed here: leveraging computing assets to establish research partnerships, utilizing equipment and co-locations to assist manufacturers, or developing shared space for food processing. Just some examples of some of those partnerships. The application materials will be available on June 3rd, and more will be coming out on June 3rd for this. The CFA process is open to applicants starting on June 17th. And the submission by the regional councils are due September 24th. So those are 3 timelines. You'll get a copy of the package for all these. Next, an important part, the governor mentioned this in his opening comments about the issue of tech transfer, one of the greatest opportunities for the state. What the governor's come up with this year is the Innovation Hotspots competition, and it's about commercializing academic research and growing our economy. The economic tech transfer from academia to commercialization. And this point the governor made earlier, it's something that we can't reinforce enough how important this is. New York University is ranked 2nd nationally in total research dollars spent, $5 billion. California is 1st in that category. But we only attract 4% of the nation's venture capital. California attracts 47%. It's not about talent. I think we have the most incredible talent across this country, but that is the greatest opportunity for this economy to get a jump start. And we rank 22nd in the nation in industry-sponsored research compared to North Carolina, which is 1st. So that's the landscape right now, and that's what the governor's trying to accomplish with these hotspots. To grow our economy, we're going to support and increase the commercialization process of research into products that will grow our economy. The REDCs are going to put together incubator plans. So these plans you'll be submitting, they're modeled after the successful research and incubators such as the Nanotech, and I'm sitting next to Elaine Caliaros, who has done a superb job at the CNSC, but it's modeled after that success. Incubators are going to foster innovation by offering startups for business resources at low or no cost to commercialize academic research. So a variety of incentives will be offered. State's going to provide financial support services to winning incubators legal, technical, and business and otherwise will be provided by New York State to help this process. And right now, a couple of points here. All existing, there's over 40 current incubators across our state, all are eligible for this competition. You have to demonstrate a bona fide connection with higher ed institutions and the ability to transition technology from lab to the marketplace. So that's going to be key for that competition. You have to demonstrate a link to regional sources of innovation and expertise in each one of these areas and provide industry-accepted best practice services, and also agree to maintain and operate a program for 3 years and generate a 2-to-1 match to the state grant for support services. So those are our criteria, and these will be in the packages when you get those. There's going to be up to 5 winning incubators this year and 5 winners next year. It's going to capitalize again on our higher ed institutions, the incredible brain power we have across the state, the assets that we have, and it's going to attract other high-tech businesses and grow jobs, and this is going to be a key. So it's also going to help New York stay open for business and keep the progress that we've seen so far, and it's a great opportunity for growth across the state. So that's a snapshot of both the competition and innovation hotspots so far. More information will be coming out, but it's exciting, and I just, again, commend the governor. In a year it's very tough financially to find these monies to invest and the confidence that he has in everyone around his table in the respective regions, I think has shown where he is putting his money where his mouth is. He's putting it out there, and there's no doubt that we're going to have a great success with this. So with that, we're going to go around the table, and we're going to end up having each region provide an overview of their current plans. So we're going to go geographically, starting from the far west of New York State, work our way east. We're going to take a break in the middle for lunch, but we're going to start, again, with Brendan McDuffie and Howard Zemsky from the Western New York Regional Council.
Great. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone. Brenda and I are joined today by other council members, Aaron Bartley with Push Buffalo, Deanna Brennan, who heads the Niagara County Chamber of Commerce. We're also joined by Laura K. Brawl, Associate Director of the UB Regional Institute, has been such an important partner of ours since the inception, and of course our amazing team at ESD, who we've partnered with, Christina Orsi and Mike Ball. I should start by saying welcome to the New Buffalo and Western New York, because it's been an amazing transformation over the last couple of years. If you go in downtown Buffalo today, our waterfront is alive and vital with an incredible amount of programming. The medical campus is accelerating private sector investment and job creation. Downtown is an absolute magnet for residential. For the first time ever, we're seeing transit-oriented development, taking advantage of our light rail. Hospitality business is booming. Cultural tourism is booming. Conferences, conventions. It's an amazing transformation. Buffalo didn't just have a bad couple of years, and it didn't just have a bad couple of decades. It had 50 tough years. So we have appreciated the extra focus that the governor and the administration has put on Buffalo, and it was about time, that changed. So we're very proud for the progress, and we're extremely proud of the way the attitudes are changing in Buffalo for the positive. We're no longer the perpetually pessimistic. There's a lot of good going on in Buffalo, and people are extremely optimistic. And I think the word is out not only in our region, but across the state and increasingly across the country. The REDC process, the governor's decentralized approach to economic development, was huge for our region. What it did, I don't know how the other regions work, but in our region, we had a very small handful of people that controlled economic development. This council collaborative approach, it busted open this very tight grip that too few people had as far as being able to participate in the planning of our economy. We've had now over 2,000 people participating through public meetings, public forums, community presentations, interviews, hundreds of people in work groups since the inception. We have 8 major industry sectors. We are convening with them on an ongoing basis. These are the focus industries for the private sector. And it is just energizing to me the way our community in Western New York has responded to the opportunity to participate. And it's not surprising, I feel, that our projects are really doing quite well. 93% of our projects are moving forward on time. We are reporting every month in our regional councils on the progress of these projects. And one of the highest standards we hold projects assessment to is implementation. Are they implementable? So we're not supporting necessarily pie-in-the-sky projects. We're really screening projects for how likely they are to be achieved and how implementable they are. Of course, this is all about jobs, 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 and I'm very pleased to say that in the last year, the Western New York Regional Council, in conjunction with ESD, has induced over $300 million of investment, over 2,000 new jobs, retention of 5,000 jobs, and $300 million of private investment for a 10-to-1 leverage, which is pretty extraordinary. And you should know, economic development in Western New York is not an activity, I would say it's an obsession. And it is a around-the-clock obsession. I think we have an amazing team focused on turning around this region. We are also keenly focused on smart growth. I know Brenda will talk more about that. We've lost, folks, we lost a third of our population of 20 to 40-year-olds in the last 20 years. So we tend to place a higher focus on projects that appeal to young adults, placemaking and smart growth and vitality and things of that nature are important in Buffalo. We want to keep people, we want to bring them back. There's going to be a ton of opportunity for people to come back to Buffalo as well, I think, in the years ahead. Any sustainable plan builds on its strengths. Of course, there's 5 counties in our region, and we assess projects based on their regional impact. We have, I think, the best collaborative spirit and working environment that Western New York has had in at least 30 years. Academia, labor, community groups, politicians, private sector, we are all lined up and collaborating in a way that we have never done before, lining up not only state resources, but state resources with city resources, federal resources as well. So this idea of a strategy and aligning resources to advance it is true not only of state funds, but also of the other funds that come to bear on economic development.
So let me tell you a little bit about our strategy, and that's expressed in our plan that we've done for the region, and we named it a strategy for prosperity. And it really focuses on those things that we know if we address and execute will really create an environment for our community not only to grow, but to really prosper and create economic stability and wealth creation. A stronger workforce, fostering a culture of entrepreneurship, smart growth investments in our existing city, towns, and village centers. We know using those 3 principles and bringing our region together to really focus, which this process has really done for us, on those 3 principal or primary themes will really turn our economy around and make it as a place that people want to come to. So let me tell you about what we've invested in relative to those 3 key areas. And I'm just going to share with you a snapshot in those respective areas. In preparing our workforce, it's all about people. And it's about people from, as the governor said, early education through high school and then into choosing and transitioning into college and or career. This is something that we really feel is critically important and that we must have a strong pipeline to connect people to those economic opportunities. We're very fortunate. We have a very high number of mid-skilled workers in our community. We have a enriched college community, about 24 colleges and universities in our community, and one of the fastest growing college communities in the nation. But one of the things we face is a shortage of skilled workers. Our skilled workers are retiring, and it's expected really in the next 6 years, 2020, which is not that far away, we're going to lose about a fifth, 21.4% of our skilled workers will be retiring. And we are not producing sufficient numbers of workers to meet the anticipated need to have individuals prepared for opportunities. So we've really invested in some projects that we will, as we execute them, and many of them have began working, we'll turn this trend around. One of the projects that we've invested in is at Niagara Community College. It's a culinary institute. One of our areas of focus is on tourism, and we will house about 1,000 students plus faculty and staff at the institute, and bring in, because it's not only a training center, but it's open to the public, over 200,000 visitors into the Niagara area that will be served by the institute. The second project, which we just want to highlight, is our Buffalo Arts and Technology Center. And it's going to address not only that pipeline at-risk high school students, students who without additional support and resources will not graduate, which is critically important as a credential to move forward, but also the unemployed and underemployed adults in our community. They will provide them with the skills and training that they need to graduate from high school, achieve high school equivalency diplomas, and be able to learn those skills that will connect to opportunities that will be created in our region. It is modeled after the Manchester Bidwell Corporation. Many of you might have heard of it, which is based in Pittsburgh. And that effort has been extremely successful in transforming the lives of both adults and youth in terms of creating opportunities for entering employment and careers. The final one that I want to share with you today is just a highlight, is something that we're doing specifically to address the skilled trades, and that's the Finishing Trades Institute. It is where we have invested resources to expand that facility to meet some of the demand for particular occupational areas and apprenticeships in the areas of welding, coating, drywall, finishing, and painting. And that's up and going, and that will really provide a workforce of skilled tradesperson, that's not only for our community, but for other parts of the state of New York, because as you know, the apprenticeships lead to journey person status, and that is a commutable credential that is recognized worldwide. In addition, as our second area of focus is creating that culture of entrepreneurship. And we have some great entrepreneurial projects that we have invested in through this particular project. And we know it will, in line with what the governor's theme is, will create the capacity to drive innovation and commercialization. The first project that we invested in as an example of some of the projects is our Launch New York. It's modeled after the Cleveland Jumpstart program. Launch New York is a not-for-profit organization, and their mission is around creating jobs by supporting high-potential startups with both the capital, the financial assistance, as well as the managerial resources. And these are the two principal things people tell us who are in business that they need: access to capital and the support so that they can be successful in their business endeavors. In addition to driving new business opportunities, we'll be measuring their performance in terms of those businesses that will be able to also reach our underserved population, particularly focused on women and minority-owned businesses. The second area that we have invested in is Alfred University's high-temperature material characterization laboratory. And this is a state-of-the-art facility that really focuses around using a renovated facility for testing applications of high-temperature materials. And the research in this particular area will actually transform how we use energy and address environmental challenges that we're facing, not only throughout the state, but throughout the world. And they've already provided the critical research to support several New York State initiatives and several small fuel cell development companies in the country. The final one that I want to share with you in the area of entrepreneurship is the Jacobs Institute for Innovation in Medicine. It is a real innovative center for entrepreneurship, which includes cutting-edge, state-of-the-art medical device, prototype facilities. It will be the only entrepreneurial center in the country that is in the heart of a clinical facility, which is our Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus, and will include a fabrication center, a machine shop, a clean room to create new devices and techniques, as well as a training center for physicians to test the items that are created out of that Jacob Center. The final area is certainly our investment in smart growth. And we are really focused on developing our central business districts. And we're looking at mixed use and connectivity between our key central core business districts throughout our region. And I'm just going to share with you the one in Buffalo, where we've created new green infrastructure in streetscape that connects the city's financial district with the medical campus, which, as Howard indicated, after years of seeing nothing happen, has really blossomed into a very vibrant community that will also utilize our multimodal transportation system on Main Street to access both the university campus and to bring our workforce both in the city and outside of areas in our region. In our city of Olean, which is an area within our region, we've already begun construction on one of our funded projects that will promote ground floor retail space and residential along their historical Main Street, and they will also engage in a project that increases their and enhances their streetscape and their conductivity between their downtown district and their two largest employers. In our small villages, we have a very diverse region. We are benefiting from this emphasis on a smart growth theme, as well as the revitalization of main streets in our communities. And in a community in Springville this year, we have a citizen-led process that is beginning to create a art district in the core of their village. And it will include a art cafe and a restoration of the village's community. All of these projects, we have very strict metrics that we're using to measure. We're measuring it on not only qualitative but quantitative impact in terms of creating jobs and generating growth for our region.
Thank you, Brenda. Very quickly, we're continuing to engage in the community as we have been through summits, forums. We've picked up and incorporated several state initiatives into our regional planning. NYSERDA Cleaner, Greener Communities. Path Through History, of course, is in our sweet spot, fits in our sweet spot of tourism. And One Region Forward, along with the NYSERDA program, that really focuses on sustainability, which is something we're actively working on with the help of a HUD grant in that case. Moving forward, we have 8 industry sectors, but 3 we're really focused on. We have 50,000 people working in the tourism segment. We're putting a huge focus on that, both in Niagara Falls and the city of Buffalo and throughout the region. Life sciences, we have $1 billion of investment and assets on the medical campus, and we're inducing a lot of more private sector investment. And advanced manufacturing, which really takes advantages of many of the sustainable assets we have in our region. Our plan is focused on tradable sectors, and it's a very holistic approach to economic development. I think we're proud of it. I think we're starting to see it really take hold. Thank you.
Nicely done.
Any questions or comments from the table to Howard or Brenda?
One thing, Bob, I noticed in the presentation there were 3 pictures of Ken Adams and 2 people who look like Ken Adams. So that was very well done. Buffalo, Howard's point, which is profound. It's not a bad couple of years in Buffalo. It's not a bad couple of decades. It's a bad 50 years. In some ways, that has created a dynamic in Buffalo that is almost unique. You have a set of challenges, I think, in terms of just the community itself and getting the energy back up and getting the positivism back up and the confidence back up. And in some ways, it's one of the hardest problems in the state, I think, is just getting that community to believe. And you've done extraordinary work with that. You really have. And the progress is palpable when you're in Buffalo. You see it, you feel it. So well done. And smart about the Ken Adams. I don't think he's on the assessment team, though. Are you on the assessment team? You don't have a vote, I see. You needed Destito. That was the picture you needed.
Or Corelli's. Any questions or comments before we move on? Good. Well, great job, both of you. Next, moving east to the Finger Lakes, we'll hear from Sandy Parker and Hilda Rosario Escher.
Thank you. On behalf of my two co-chairs, Joel Seligman and Danny Wegman, who both wish they could be here today but had unavoidable commitments, I want to begin by thanking Governor Cuomo for hosting this event and for your continued leadership and support for the regional economic development process in the Finger Lakes. We appreciate this opportunity to present to you an update on the continued progress the Finger Lakes region has made in implementing our strategic plan and discuss our plan for the coming year. The transformative approach you have envisioned and outlined for economic development has proven itself to be an effective mechanism to focus and target our regional planning efforts. We're deeply grateful to the Governor and the Strategic Review Team for their support and recognition of our efforts. December's selection as Best Plan awardee was a real shot in the arm for our region and allowed several critical projects to immediately move forward. These funds represent critical investments in research and development and technology commercialization, community development, small business growth, workforce development, and improving the quality of life of our residents. This, coupled with the Governor's leadership in addressing key sectors to our region like agriculture and tourism, with summits on yogurt, wine and beer, and most recently tourism, has resulted in a renewed sense of enthusiasm in the region and created real momentum with identified projects and priorities. We're having greater interest and participation than ever before, and we're executing strategies, implementing performance measures, and developing new ideas to further accelerate our region's growth, create jobs, and enhance our quality of life. Our success last year was the result of significant self-reflection that helped address both perceived and identified weaknesses in our strategic plan. Through robust public engagement, we reorganized and expanded our work groups, strengthened our actions and strategies, and identified projects that were consistent with our plan, leveraged significant private investment, and were measurable in performance. We also recognized in a more meaningful way to address the real and significant challenges our region faces, including aging infrastructure, pockets of chronic urban and rural poverty, poor-performing schools, and lack of capital to create and grow businesses, particularly among minority and women. The biggest key to our success was the reorganization and amplification of our work groups for more effective implementation. In 2012, we expanded the number of our work groups from 11 to 14 and included more than 200 area leaders and stakeholders to more accurately reflect the economic sectors that are of greatest importance to the region. This, coupled with feedback from 12 public meetings involving more than 700 participants, led to a stronger focus on implementation, new project recommendations, and a stronger plan overall. After significant consideration and deliberation, the Council felt it was important to set an overall goal for this region that reflected our shared vision of our economic future. As a result, we set a job creation goal of at least 50,000 net new jobs in the region by year-end 2016, covering the 5-year strategic plan period. We're well on our way towards that goal, having added 10,000 jobs from 2011 to 2012. Despite continuing challenges and economic uncertainties, we believe with New York State as a partner, we will enhance workforce development, strengthen our urban core and rural communities, accelerate the creation and revitalization of key industrial development sites, improve the quality and lower the cost of health care, and enable companies with growth potential to expand their operations that will allow us to meet this goal. The reorganization and coordination of our work groups was critical to our efforts over the past year and are at the heart of our council's work going forward. Our 14 work groups are the mechanism to implement our strategic plan and monitor our region's progress as we work to transform our economy. Their strength will continue to be the basis for us moving forward and the key to our overall success. Since last year, the Executive Committee has reviewed and replenished the work group membership and leadership in consultation with the work group co-chairs. Dozens of eager new members have come forward and have been added. We have increased membership more than 25%, from 200 last year to over 250 stakeholders this year. Some of our work groups have seen so much interest that they even have formed subcommittee structures to further engage additional stakeholders and better assess project priorities within specific industries. These volunteers have an incredible amount of positive energy and new ideas. They give countless hours of their time for the betterment of the region. Each work group meets monthly, if not more frequently, to convene volunteer stakeholders with industry expertise, identify sector strategies that align with the Council's regional strategies, develop and prioritize projects that meet strategic goals, and address the needs and issues most critical for enhancing the region's competitiveness. One of the most important ways the work groups can help enhance the region's competitiveness is to help the Council measure the progress being made within the region. This includes the overall council goal of 50,000 new jobs by the end of 2016, but also through accountability by measuring performance within individual sectors and industries. In February, our co-chairs charged the work groups with producing a dashboard that would be updated regularly to provide a snapshot of their industry sector to the Council and the state for such items as mission and vision, existing conditions, performance measures, status of previously funded priority project, and potential future priority projects. In perhaps the greatest manifestation of Governor Cuomo's vision for regional economic development driven at the grassroots level, all 14 of our work groups presented their findings at our May 3rd council meeting. The result was an incredible display of on-the-ground, real-time information of what's happening in the sectors across the region. We believe it is this early work that will propel the transformation of our regional economy, provide the accountability, and well position us for the consolidated funding application process and the next round of regional council competition. While our core regional sector strategies have remained the same, the work groups have been fundamental in refining the actions and strengthening the project pipeline. The regional strategic categories developed by the Council are optimizing business creation, retention and expansion, strengthen academic and industry partnerships, align workforce development efforts with sector needs, invest in community industrial development and infrastructure. Driven in part by our rich array of colleges and universities and fueled by a talented, highly educated workforce with a strong entrepreneurial spirit and ability to innovate, the Council will leverage its advantages in academic research, workforce talent, and high quality of life to develop and execute strategies and actions for advanced healthcare, life sciences, energy innovation, optics, imaging, and photonics, business services, and advanced manufacturing, agriculture, and food processing. We also strive to harness our natural resources, cultural institutions, and vineyards to build on the governor's leadership and become one of the state's leading tourist destinations. At our first meeting in January, the Council held its meeting at Eastman Business Park and unanimously reaffirmed it as the Finger Lakes region's top economic priority. Ensuring the success of Eastman Business Park as a conduit for innovation and job growth has repeatedly been voted the top priority for our region by the entire Council. The 1,200-acre site with more than 100 buildings, 1.5 million square feet of laboratory, manufacturing, warehouse, and office space, 30 miles of roads, 17 miles of railroad track, dedicated power generation, water processing, and wastewater treatment facilities is among the largest, most attractive industrial parks in the entire country. Currently, the park is home to 48 companies and at least 4,500 non-Kodak jobs, which potentially could be lost if a sustainable plan is not developed for Eastman Business Park that addresses all contingencies. Pending approval, Kodak has filed a proposed plan for emerging from Chapter 11 bankruptcy sometime this fall. However, the fate of Eastman Business Park and its tenants is still uncertain. We're deeply grateful to the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the multi-agency team led by ESD for the significant time and resources they have committed to its preservation. The council looks forward to continuing to partner with the state to resolve outstanding issues around the review and approval of the sale of the utilities and the disposition of the property to a new developer. The council believes that a combination of public and private investment will allow the park to meet its goal of creating 1,500 jobs over the next 5 years. New York Battery and Energy Storage Technology Consortium is in the process of establishing a commercialization center at Eastman Business Park to facilitate the creation and deployment of the next generation of energy storage technologies that could make New York the international leader in the development and manufacturing of advanced energy storage solutions. We also appreciate the state's support in helping 2 energy storage companies, one to expand its current operations, Graphene Devices, and another to relocate there, Gnome Technologies. Both would create more than 150 new jobs and represent almost $5 million in new investment. With continued teamwork and support like we've seen at all levels, Eastman Business Park is on its way to becoming the state's, if not the nation's, premier commercialization center of new technology in the areas of energy, storage, functional films, and biomaterials. Last year, the council recommended that the state invest in several key multi-year projects previously identified, as well as new priority projects that will enhance workforce development, strengthen our urban cores and rural communities, accelerate the creation and revitalization of key industrial development sites, improve the quality and lower the cost of health care, and enable companies with growth potential to expand their operations. Our 12 transformative projects will leverage hundreds of millions in private support and are estimated to create and retain 8,060 jobs. These projects also expand our capacity to accelerate the creation of new businesses, enable more people to enter the workforce with the skills necessary to succeed in a knowledge-based economy, help revitalize our urban and rural communities, and enhance our quality of life. Like other areas of the state, employers in the Finger Lakes are having difficulty filling middle-skilled jobs, those that require an associate degree, post-secondary certificate, or vocational credentials. To address these needs, the council created a new workforce development work group and proposed a new project called the Multiple Pathways to Middle Skills Job Initiative. This comprehensive approach to workforce development has several key goals: to assess the gap between training capacity and skills needed, conduct an inventory training assets, particularly at community colleges and BOCES, align community college workforce programs with employer needs, focus training resources on needs of business, and build middle skill pipeline by expanding awareness at the K-12 level. The Workforce Development Work Group is currently conducting a high-level gap analysis and reviewing the data from a survey conducted by Monroe Community College, the Rochester Business Journal, and the Center for Governmental Research that includes more than 330 regional businesses representing nearly 70,000 employees. Multiple Pathways to Middle Skills Jobs program will create 3 mobile learning labs to serve as regional assets to train workers to fill these jobs. The goal is to have these labs in the community by January to help our economy grow and remain competitive and open employment opportunities to a greater diversity and wider range of our residents, particularly those in struggling urban and rural communities. The project represents a model collaboration, bringing together K-12 districts, BOCES, the 3 community colleges in the Finger Lakes region, industry and business, teachers, and trade unions. They also build on successful models at MCC in machining and optics and at Finger Lakes Community College Viticulture and Wine Technology program, which were both recently highlighted in the Governor's State of the State address. When fully implemented, the Multiple Pathways project will be able to provide training to 5,200 people, all in sectors identified by the Regional Economic Development Council as central to the Finger Lakes. The council put in place strategies and actions that strengthen and expand, both in terms of capacity and geographic reach, the region's network of incubators and acceleration facilities, and create an integrated network of resources that will support small businesses, including minority and women-owned enterprises, at every stage of growth and across all industry sectors and geographic regions. Collectively, the small business proposals that were endorsed by the state last year will directly impact 38 companies and represent more than $56 million in total investment and will create and retain more than 2,300 jobs. These proposals include the Business Accelerator, the Economic Gardening Project, Pathstone Finger Lakes Enterprise Fund, and a Small Business Expansion Fund the Council created. One project that has demonstrated real progress is the Regional Internal Harvesting and Economic Gardening Project, an initiative to foster the growth of second-stage companies in all 9 counties by connecting them with the resources and expertise necessary to help them expand. All 20 companies have finalized their work with the Edward Lowe Foundation during the past few months and have worked to implement the strategic recommendations. Several companies have either made new hires or are exploring payroll growth. Many are dedicating new or renewed focus to marketing techniques, and all have acquired detailed market research reports with valuable information about competitors, potential sales leads, and/or potential targets for acquisition. The Council is also focused on developing the resources necessary for medium and large-sized companies, particularly in the field of advanced manufacturing. In addition to Eastman Business Park, we are focused on another large industrial development site to attract new businesses to our region called Science, Technology, and Advanced Manufacturing Park, or STAMP, which will strengthen the state's leadership in nanoscale manufacturing by creating the next shovel-ready mega site to attract these companies. Higher education is one of the largest employers in the Finger Lakes. It is also an engine of research and innovation and a critical anchor to the region's overall quality of life. 2 projects that strengthen our region's research universities and create world-class centers of education, scientific innovation, and industry academic partnerships are the Health Sciences Center for Computational Innovation and the Golisano Institute for Sustainability. The University of Rochester's Health Science Center for Computational Innovation is a partnership with IBM to create the most advanced computer system dedicated to health research in the world. Thanks to $10 million in support from the state, the university is now home to the top 5 most powerful university-based supercomputing sites in North America and among the most energy-efficient, high-performance computing systems in the world. This partnership, which began in 2008, has already generated more than $172 million in research funding and has more than 600 users. This will further strengthen our region as a magnet for research, scientific talent, and life sciences companies. With the funding awarded in December, the Golisano Institute for Sustainability at Rochester Institute of Technology officially opens its doors in April. The 84,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility positions RIT as a global leader in the field of sustainable design and product development. The direct jobs impact of GIS in the short term will be at least 1,075 jobs, including 75 direct hires at RIT and 1,000 at area manufacturing firms. The Council is placing a greater emphasis on the developing effective and strategic community development efforts that go beyond traditional brick-and-mortar projects and address poverty, affordable housing, graduation rates, unemployment, and access to opportunities. Led by our Community Development Work Group, we are focusing on implementing prior year projects like College Town, which just broke ground earlier this month, and Midtown, as well as strengthening strategies and identifying new actions and projects that ensure sustainable home ownership opportunities, target initiatives in distressed urban and rural communities, and provide opportunities through training, tech assistance, and financing. While we are incredibly proud of our efforts and the selection of being selected a Best Plan awardee, we are redoubling efforts. We want to build off our momentum with a renewed focus on our implementation efforts, further strengthen our project pipeline, and identify new strategies to help accelerate our region's economic transformation and meet our goal of at least 50,000 net new jobs in the region by the end of 2016. The Council has met twice already, although as previously noted, the work groups are meeting on a continuing basis. At our most recent meeting, we unanimously endorsed both our regional sustainability plan and our Path Through History applications to the state. We're excited about the proposals announced by the governor that were ultimately included in the 2013-14 budget around innovation, tech transfer, and workforce development. These are all things our region has focused extensively on in the first 2 years and strongly supported. We believe that the creation of innovation hotspots, innovation venture capital fund, and an innovation network will provide a critical bridge between academic and private research and development that will lead to the creation of new technology, startup companies, and regional growth. We look forward to insight into these new strategies that will accelerate technology commercialization, better promote the region, and strengthen our clean tech economy. We're also greatly interested in additional details about the opportunity agenda. Given the pockets of chronic poverty in our region, particularly in the city of Rochester, we look forward to ways we can bring greater focus on distressed communities and the challenges of concentrated poverty. Our area has a long history of successful public-private partnerships that have had some success, like Hillside Work Scholarship, a nationally recognized youth development program proven to increase graduation rates and prepare students within the city school district to enter college or the workforce. And we have already engaged a new task force to meet the challenge provided by this opportunity. We understand our efforts have only just begun, and we look forward to continuing to work with you, Governor, to build a new economic future for our region. Thank you very much.
Sandy and Hilda, thank you. Nice touch with the governor's picture in there. Ken Adams' picture was behind a tree in the Eastman Business Park. So it's planted. Any questions?
I have two questions.
Oh,
if you have to pick the two primary drivers of the economy in Finger Lakes, what would those be? The top two. Top two major economic drivers for the economy, what would they be?
I would have to say that the top two economic drivers are the University of Rochester and Rochester Institute of Technology and the work that they do through research, and also the fact that they are strong attractors to bringing young people into our region, which is one of our greatest needs.
I asked the wrong question, my apologies. As in, what kind of industries?
Oh, okay. In industries, I think certainly agriculture has really recently emerged as an area hotspot for our region. I think the other area that we're particularly seeing a lot of growth in is in the area of energy and new forms of sustainable energy.
And how big is the Kodak Park? How large is the Kodak Park?
It's 1,500 acres.
3 times the size of Central Park in New York City.
Yeah.
Why isn't it being considered as a potential site for a manufacturing plant in what we do in nanotechnology? It seems that it would be perfect. It's pre-permitted, it's a brown to some. Why hasn't been considered as a...
I'm not aware that it hasn't been considered as a site. One of the things that we're trying to do is trying to address the issues of the utility issue to get that resolved and to work out some of the other contingencies there so we can get another potential developer for the park. But certainly we feel that once that's accomplished, we'll be able to be a big attractor for new industries coming into the area and provide a site for companies that are already there to expand.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thanks. Ken?
It's a very, very helpful presentation, Sandy. Thank you. You've got 9 counties in that big Finger Lake region of yours.
Counties.
And very diverse. I just wanted to ask you, obviously there's a lot of exciting opportunities you've described, Eastman Business Park being one of them, in Rochester. But with the rural counties, where, as you say, agriculture's happening, what do you do, especially with your work groups, to identify those smaller projects in those smaller rural communities that are not even in the first ring, or tier suburbs of Rochester, but are out in the counties that are much more rural? And again, the projects are smaller. How do you identify them and bring them to the...
I think the answer there, I think one of the big changes that we've implemented this go-around is the expansion of the work groups. And the work group makeup really is representative of the 9 counties. We have very vocal representatives that sit on those work groups from Yates County, Seneca County, some of the more rural areas. So they come armed with their projects. And if you reflect over the projects that we've presented in our plan in previous years, we really have been well represented in terms of making sure that we have a regional approach. That's one of the key criteria that we use when we're looking at these projects and trying to assess them in terms of priority projects. We want to make sure that they're not just Monroe County projects.
Right. Great. Thank
Very
you.
sensitive to that particular issue.
Thanks, Sandy and Hilda. Next, moving to Southern Tier, Harvey Stenger and Michael Stam.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you, Governor. Tom Trainer couldn't make it today. He's my co-chair, but I have Michael Stam here from Tompkins County, and we have a good contingent of Southern Tier Economic Development Council members here. Let me introduce them. Patricia Cummings is here with us, Peg Ellsworth, Ernie Hartman. Raise your hand there, Ernie. And Peg and Patricia and Diane Lance. So they're the truth squad behind me. If I make a mistake, they can chime in at any time. Our job is to update you on what we've done in year 1 and year 2 and to talk about moving forward concisely as possible today. The Southern Tier has a long history of a great manufacturing region with the history of IBM and Endicott Johnson there in the early mid-1900s, and they're gone now. And so we're revitalizing that area with a multi-strategy approach. And to define what our strategic objectives would be, we thought we could boil it down to just 5 topics. We have some excellent strengths, not only in our universities, but in some of the local industries in energy efficiency and renewable energy technology. The second is transportation industry, about 5 manufacturers of industrial components necessary for the transportation industry. Working in the area of healthcare and looking at some of the rural telemedicine applications in healthcare that can come out of the technology that's being developed in the Southern Tier is our third strategic objective. And then focusing on the rural farm forest-based economy is very important, home to some of the great new yogurt manufacturers, but also the forest products as a renewable energy source is an important part of our region's economy. And we recognize that the Southern Tier is spread out. We have urban centers in Binghamton, Corning, Elmira, Ithaca, and to connect them is very important. So the economic development background of those bridge towns and cities in between them, as well as the infrastructure necessary for communications and transportation are very important. In the first round of the CFA, we were awarded $49 million. We put together 58 projects totaling $37 million, a wide range, but all right down the center of those 5 strategic priorities. We'll talk about a few of the projects in a second. The successes, one certainly is our infrastructure fund for shovel-ready sites with 2 locations that are now shovel-ready for new build facilities. These are green sites in the Southern Tier. The Community Revitalization Loan Program, which we think is very successful, helping some of these cities that are 150, 200 years old revitalize that downtown landscape and cityscape to make them more attractive. I think Hornell, New York, with an H, Hornell, New York, is a great example of that, where we've taken just a rundown area of town and increased vitality and brought jobs back into the city. And then the Rural Initiative Loan Program, where we're helping lots of rural farm-to-market projects. The Food Hub in Groton is probably a great example where we're using disabled workers to develop food-ready products for the grocery stores in all of New York State. Round 2, we were one of the best proposals in Round 2, and we're grateful for that. And we, of course, we're halfway through the second year, so we've got to report on some of our successes here as well as some of our projects in progress. 85% of those 62 projects are in progress. Many of them have broken ground, and several are beyond the design stage. We're leveraging our funds anywhere between 10 to 1 when you look at the non-tax incentive funds, or 5 to 1 when you include the tax incentive funds and the low-cost bond funds. Some of the key projects in Round 2, one related to Tom Trainer, who can't be here today, is the expansion of the Corning Incorporated heavy-duty diesel manufacturing facility. They don't manufacture diesel engines there. They actually manufacture the catalysts that clean up the exhaust from the diesel engines, not just trucks, but any kind of a diesel engine. The decision was made last year to decide whether they would stay in the Southern Tier or whether they would move out of the state. This is a large project, a $220 million project investment by Corning, and matched by a few $1 million through the ESD process last year. And that was a tipping point to make them to stay. Not only was it the money, but it was the confidence that Corning was the right place for this facility. And it'll retain 500 jobs and create 250 new permanent jobs as they build this 94,000 square foot facility to manufacture the catalyst necessary for safe and clean diesel engine operation. In Binghamton, in the city of Binghamton, we are finalizing the design firms necessary for our Southern Tier High Technology Incubator. This is a multi-year project. Our first round success, or round two, our first year of proposal was successful in winning $7 million from this process. We're leveraging that with Economic Development Agency money from the federal government, as well as local IDA money, as well as private donors through the university's foundation. And we believe that in the early stages, the construction jobs will be significant. And as the incubator matures and companies graduate from incubators, we believe over the next 3 to 6 years that we could have close to 300 new jobs created in the Southern Tier. I think what's not unique about this is that it is a new build, but it will be in the city of Binghamton, in a neighborhood that probably also qualifies as an opportunity zone, or an opportunity agenda zone. So trying to merge those opportunities in one project here. I'm going to let Michael Stamm, who's the president of Tompkins County Area Development, to talk about some of the other projects in round two. Mike.
I think the state's goal is certainly to leverage as much private sector investment as possible with these funds. And I think about 5 minutes after the round two announcement, when Ithaca received funds to revitalize its commons, the Marriott Corporation announced that they would build a brand new full-service Marriott in downtown Ithaca. And if you look anywhere around upstate New York, you won't see many new full-service hotels being built. And that's a $30 million investment. At the other end of the commons, the Holiday Inn is going to build a new tower and also build, importantly, a conference center that will serve the needs of many of the conferences that need to come to the Ithaca area. And that conference center will be completely private sector operated without any public sector funds. And another project is being proposed that would result in a 9-story residential housing project, again, in the urban core that was leveraged totally by the state's investment in revitalizing the downtown urban core. Another project, the Cornell University Food Processing and Development Laboratory expansion, is receiving national attention. We're currently working with a company out of Missouri that is considering a location in the Southern Tier that provides supply chain technical advice and testing for milk products, and from what cows eat to the quality of the milk that cows produce and the quality of the products that milk is an input to. And again, we're working with this Missouri-based company that paid attention to this project and wants to have a presence in the Northeast United States. So I think you can see that the decisions made in round two by New York State to invest in certain specific projects are generating tremendous interest in the private sector and will result in millions and millions of dollars of private sector investment and quality jobs in the Southern Tier. It's pretty impressive.
Thanks, Michael. A couple others in round two is the BAE Systems Hybrid Electric. I think, Governor, you toured that facility last year when you were visiting. The southern end of Seneca Lake, a waterfront development program. We're working on some infrastructure as well as some new retail opportunities. And the Sunrise Family Farms expanding their yogurt facility. One of the exciting projects that we have in round two is Telemedicine and Mobile Technology Fund. This is going to be creating rural applications of telemedicine to lower the cost of health care to those folks who are distant from hospital services. And this is a partnership between Lockheed Martin and Lourdes Hospital in the Southern Tier. And I think it's a great combination of two important employers in the Southern Tier and their ideas for future technology development. And of course, we are looking forward to further the governor's initiatives. We recently had a meeting in Ithaca on the Innovation Hotspots program between Corning, Cornell, and Binghamton to talk about who would be the best applicant for that project. Our sustainability plan is almost finished and will be endorsed at our next meeting. Today we finished the proposal for our Path Through History project that will be being submitted to your new program. And as we said, we're talking about the opportunity agenda and how we can leverage some of the existing projects to help some of our more depressed downtown areas. And just some of the things that we're always focusing on, we want to leverage Cornell and Binghamton universities. As you've said, getting the universities to work with the local economy is critical. Growing our tourism sector, which is very important in the southern tier, not as recognized as the rest of upstate New York, and revitalizing the waterfronts and downtowns. Always working on our workforce needs and manufacturing base to be stabilized in the southern tier, and trying to get these projects started out at the grassroots that they can continue in the southern tier and create new manufacturing facilities to replace those ones that we lost over the past 2 or 3 decades. Thank you, Governor.
Any questions or comments around the table?
Mr. President, as the president of the university, what is your theory on why the state lags in the tech transfer area, and why other states do better, and why other higher academic universities have more of an orientation towards it?
Tony, I'll take a shot at this and see how we do. My colleague at the north end, who does a great job in technology transfer to local industries. I think it's a cultural aspect. Older universities have traditions that perhaps younger universities don't. Binghamton University, relatively young, 65 years old. We're aggressively pursuing corporate partnerships. And if our projects are sponsored by companies, that's just as good as projects sponsored by NIH or NSF. So I think that as we look at the future of hiring our faculty, providing them with the kinds of tenure criteria that maximizes economic benefit to the region, not just the scholarly output of their research, will take years, maybe decades, because the faculty have been hired under the guidelines where that wasn't what was going to make you a successful academic. The study, the theoretical work was going to get you become a successful academic. It's a slow, long-term shift that we have to, as presidents of universities, move our faculty in that direction.
Governor, if I could add to that, I'm certainly very familiar with Cornell University and agree with President Stanger. What's happening at Cornell University is going to be a tremendous turnover in faculty in the next 4 or 5 years, and they're aggressively pursuing new young faculty members that want to engage with the private sector. And I think it's going to create a tremendous change in the culture of the university. And I think Cornell recognizes that they need to do that to compete, and it's going to happen.
Great. Thank you.
Questions? Okay. Great job, both of you. Next, moving to Central New York. Rob Simpson and Nancy Cantor.
Great. Thank you.
Not to be given the clicker.
Isn't it really?
Competition is tough
there we
among
go.
these groups.
The sneaky folks in the southern tier. Thank you very much, Governor, and to all of you today. I think when you and others came to Central New York last time around, you saw visible signs of the progress that we've been making. In downtown Syracuse alone, we had 9 cranes in the air last year, a tremendous amount of economic activity, not just in the center of our city, but in the region. And I think maybe the thing that we're the most proud of is the collaborative, to sort of echo some of what Howard talked about, the collaboration that's taken root in Central New York and the bottom-up approach that we've tried to build through this strategy. Just a quick reminder on the 3 overarching goals that are in our plan, clearly building from our areas of strength, the key industries, including tourism, agriculture, defense and digital electronics, clean tech, biomedical, which make up our region's, the core of our region's economic activity. Improving our competitiveness globally, and that includes not only growing innovation within existing industry, but helping companies tap into new and growing markets, particularly overseas, is a core part of our initiative. And focusing on the places where people live, our urban cores, our main streets, our neighborhoods and towns and villages, and improving the quality of life of those places. That's the bulk of our strategy. Just a quick overview, I draw your attention, all told between the two rounds, we had 147 projects that were funded through both our priority projects and the CFA. Two numbers that I'm particularly proud of on this chart. The first is our performance in terms of projects started and on schedule. You look down at the bottom of the page, round one, 95% of the projects that were funded in the first round are on schedule from where they started. Round two, 86% are currently on schedule, and a number of which we're still working towards contract. But a little less than $200 million in state investment, leverage more than 1.5 in private sector investment, about 3,500 net new jobs associated with those projects. Maybe most importantly, each of these projects, 100% of the projects that were funded through the Regional Economic Development Council were focused on one of those key three overarching goals that I talked about. 74% of the projects that were funded leveraged at a minimum two of those three goals, and 24% leveraged all three of those goals. So we're trying to make the most strategic use we can of limited resources. The projects, though, are just a part of our economic development strategy. We spent a lot of time laying out 8 transformational initiatives in our plan that we believe are critical to the long-term future of economic development in upstate New York. One of which is highlighted here, doing a better job of moving food in our agricultural industry to markets, both in region and out of region. One of the things that we've made a tremendous amount of progress on, not only one of the first food hubs funded here in the state, but we have many institutions like Syracuse University, SUNY Oswego, St. Joseph's Hospital, and others that are looking at their own internal procurement practices and figuring out how they can do a better job of taking advantage of New York State agricultural products, something we think can be a major driver for that industry. Second, we believe fundamentally that we have a responsibility to invest in our own communities at the same time that we're asking the state to make investments. One of the things, speaking to the issue of technology transfer, we know we do about $1.2 billion in R&D in our region over the course of any given year, but we have not necessarily seen a comparable investment in venture capital and private sector investment. One of our transformational initiatives was to launch a venture fund based in central New York to support technology transfer and innovation and startup activity in our region. I'm pleased to announce that we've raised over $7.5 million towards a $25 to $35 million fund. That's happened all within the last year. Thank you. And we've also identified a general partner who comes with a significant amount of expertise in early stage venture investing, who is going to be relocating to central New York to manage this effort. So this will be a highly professional, highly organized effort to not only support startups, but to drive return to the investors in that fund.
As many of you know, we have a very ambitious urban education improvement program, Say Yes to Education, which is district-wide in the city of Syracuse. And we now, in this transformational project, want to take that, if you will, on the road throughout the region to do just the kind of education to economic development continuum that the governor talked about. So we have started Say Yes to Education summer success academies at Onondaga Community College that are hooking into a corporate compact of our key industry clusters in the region, and then thinking about taking students from the Syracuse City School District who will graduate, go into the Summer Success Academy, and then feed not only into industry clusters with scholarships and internships and mentorship, but feed into all the local colleges and universities in the region. Very, very important to really symbolize that education to economic development continuum, and we feel very excited about this one.
Speaking, I'll highlight one project in each of our 3 core strategies to give you a sense of how we're trying to move our plan forward as a whole. This is a consortium, the New Era Initiative, a consortium of 40 companies, not just in central New York, but also with our partners in the Mohawk Valley. It's a cross-regional initiative working with Griffiths International Airport, really designed to pursue an FAA opportunity, a federal government opportunity, where they are looking to demonstrate the integration of unmanned aerial systems into the commercial airspace. These are applications like fire prevention, search and rescue, border patrol, agricultural work. There's about an $860 billion global market for this technology, and growing over the course of the next decade. And our companies want an opportunity to participate in that growth nationally and internationally. Second, as you know, we have a partnership with the Brookings Institute to manage a number of projects that we're demonstrating here in Central New York. One of them is our export initiative. We're doing a significant amount of work to help individual companies and our ecosystem as a whole become more globally fluent in tapping into those international markets. All told, we have, just recently we won a federal grant award, the Jobs and Innovation Accelerator Challenge, that's helping to fund and support those efforts. It's federal money coming in to leverage the state's investments. And recently we had a very nice success. One of our largest employers in Central New York, who has not done foreign direct sales previously, it's several $100 million company, just landed a major contract with a vendor in Taiwan that's going to create a significant number of new jobs in Central New York.
As Rob mentioned earlier, one of the three key goals for us, and it really goes through the entire 2 rounds that we were best project winners on, is really to invest in the urban cores and then the main streets and central parts of our rural districts. We have, as Rob said, also lots of cranes in the ground. So a piece of this is civil infrastructure, $1.4 billion in capital investment in these areas, in the city of Syracuse, obviously, but throughout the 5 counties. But what's really critical about our approach to this is to, in a sense, put with civil infrastructure the kind of human capital infrastructure development that will make this successful. So in each of our downtown areas, for example, in Syracuse, let's take the Near West Side Initiative in Syracuse, over $50 million in investment with partners like SU Home Headquarters, Pro Literacy, WCNY, moving into what is the 9th poorest census tract in the country. But in the Near West Side, we have strong resident participation, engaged in entrepreneurship, engaged in arts and culture, engaged in training and education. So all of our capital investments are being paired with human capital investments, education, job training, entrepreneurship. St. Joseph's Hospital and Center State on the north side are doing green train, entrepreneurship and engineering green training. In Madison County, thinking again about food hubs and the kinds of farm-to-food hub kinds of production. There again, all the capital investment is really being leveraged with human investment and thinking of those connections. Cortland doing a business innovation center in downtown Cortland, again bringing in entrepreneurship for individuals in the area and through universities. So it really signifies the collaborative aspect and the cross-sector aspect that Central New York is really good at.
We've been very grateful for some of the ancillary initiatives associated with the council. Connect New York, we've funded 3 very significant broadband investments to connect the rural parts of our community in a way that they had not been connected before, about $4 million in investment, leveraged several hundred million in private investment. And on the opportunity agenda, one of the strategic decisions we made as a council last time around, in the second round, 74% of the projects that we recommended as a priority to the state were in areas of economic distress. That was a tactical and strategic decision we made at the council level, and we're looking forward to reinforcing that. Everyone wants to know how we're doing. Private sector jobs are up. Our average wages are up. Educational attainment is up. Our regional poverty rate is unfortunately moving in the wrong direction and significantly. This dashboard helps inform our strategic decisions as a council. This is what we'll rely on. And this is really what helps us think through both the opportunities and the challenges for the year ahead. First and foremost, we are seeing, just as you've noticed and you're seeing around the state, a significant increase in opportunity around value-added agriculture. We have a tremendous cluster of companies in smart systems in Central New York that is beginning to coalesce in some great market opportunities. And again, we mentioned people to opportunity. But we are also concerned about the changes in the healthcare environment. We have 23,000 people in Central New York. About 9.5% of our total workforce in the region is in the healthcare field. The changes are having an impact on us economically and something we have to monitor. We're also very heavy in defense, and that is sequestration and other impacts are concerning to us. And the poverty rate, which is troubling and we don't have a solution for yet, but is something that's first and foremost on our minds.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move to the Mohawk Valley. We have Larry Gilroy and Steve DeMeo, and no pressure, gentlemen, but after you, we're taking a break. So this
Well, thank you, Governor, for having us here. On behalf of myself and Wolf Ye, my co-chair, who couldn't be here, Steve DeMeo, who you'll hear from, Ken Tompkins, who provides great leadership from ESD, and Jennifer Waters, who's a part of our team. Thank you very much. Lieutenant Governor, thank you for the highly prized pre-break spot, only to be envied by the pre-happy hour spot at the end, I think. I got a little paranoid when we were in Rochester. I said some of my best presentations seem to begin with the words "in conclusion," and I'm not sure if that's how I got here. Whoop, did I go the wrong way? There you go. There you go. We're talking today in the Mohawk Valley region about returning to a history from success. And if you take a look at the then, where we've come from, it really sounds a little bit like a microcosm of what's going on in Buffalo. Our population peaked in the 1960s. It's been 50 years for us that our biggest export has been our youth. And if you take a look at where we were when the Erie Canal days started, we were the crossroads, we were the West. We were a central location. We had tremendous manufacturing. We went through textiles, we went through aerospace, we had a great heritage of agriculture. But we've been on a downslide, and as we come here today, it was great as we reviewed the most recent labor data. If you look in 2007, when the U.S. job numbers started to drop and the New York numbers started to drop, those numbers started to pick up a couple years ago, but they didn't pick up in the Mohawk Valley. But for the first time in 2012, we've seen it turn. We've hit that turning point, and private sector employment is up in the Mohawk Valley for the first time since 2007. And we see that being part of the hope that we need. And what this whole REDC process is really brought to us is a chance for people to believe that this can really happen here, that their kids don't have to move away for a better opportunity. And we're right at the front end of it. But as you look at what the now means, technology is now our crossroads. Together with New York State, we've made tremendous investments, and those investments are very front-loaded. But you'll hear more from Steve where the status of that is. It's beginning to happen. It's beginning to come. Manufacturing is still a staple for us, but it's modernized, and it's effective, and it's globally competitive. At Griffiths Air Force Base, we have one of the best, it's like a research university, centers with the Air Force lab there. So there's tremendous opportunity going forward. Agribusiness, you'll hear about in our program, is a big part. So we've gone from old-line agriculture to agriculture that's part of a new economy. New York State's invested $120 million that leverages $560 million. We're on track with 4,800 jobs, both created and retained, and 93% of our programs are on progress. I want to talk a little bit about teamwork because one of our biggest challenges in the Mohawk Valley, besides this 50-year decline, is the fact you have 6 counties that, to anyone's recollection, have never worked together, either voluntarily or been asked to do so. And it's been amazing as those counties have come together without one focal key point, how we've gotten together and worked together. So what do we have working? Well, we have great work on committees. The executive committee's moved up from a weekly Monday morning quick call to bi-weekly meetings every Friday for a couple of hours. We've leveraged committees and passed the Greener Initiative. We've worked on the Pathways Through History Initiative. And the county liaison process we started last year, we reached out to our local counties to source better quality projects. And while that helped in round 2, where it really came in when we didn't expect it was, part of our award last year was $8 million in small cities funding that we had to have in and approved on priority projects by May. And without that county liaison process, we couldn't have gotten through a lot of those small projects that are really going to spread through the 6-county region and will be great. So teamwork is the key to the initiatives that Steve and I will talk about. And like business itself, you can't survive by cutting back anymore. There's nothing to cut in our region. It's about top-line growth, and we've had tremendous success. Some of the things of those projects we want to highlight is we've had agribusiness success. If you look out to the eastern side of us, Faye's plant is a huge part of the yogurt boom in New York State, and that's a big one, but there's others. Through Assemblyman Brindisi, we've been down in Brooklyn, worked with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, and we're looking at taking products that can be made in New York identified with Brooklyn, but maybe manufactured in upstate New York. So that interregional cooperation is a big part of what we're trying to look at going forward. So interregional cooperation is a huge part of what we hope to see going forward. Our second strategy, once the growth is there, and you've heard jobs from everyone, goes heavily to education. And a couple of projects we wanted to highlight today, Bassett Healthcare, which is a strong healthcare center in a very rural part of our world, has partnered with Herkimer County Community College on a great program that's not only going to be providing elder care, it's providing elder curricula for nursing students going through Herkimer County Community College. So we're leveraging that need for healthcare with an ability to train our future leaders in the healthcare arena. Mohawk Valley Community College, another in our area, is the only A&P program training the future mechanics in the airline industry in New York State, and that's the type of collaboration we're looking for in the modern manufacturing as we go forward. Steve?
Thank you, Larry. I was struck by the Finger Lakes presentation on the Eastman Business Park project, and you have this huge industrial site, and you're trying to repurpose it and help to support a 21st century economy. We had much of the same challenge with Griffiths Air Force Base, which was part of the BRAC 93 process. We had the added pressure not only of trying to recover from the loss of Griffiths, but also to make sure that that the Air Force didn't come back for to pick up the remaining functions there, namely the Air Force Research Laboratory, and then known as the Northeast Air Defense Sector, two retained functions that were part of Griffiths. So we had to move quickly to prove and demonstrate to the Air Force that functions like that could survive as self-contained entities co-located within a thriving business and technology park. And so what has been accomplished in some of the projects that have been part of the Regional Council initiatives for the past couple of years have focused on trying to add to an employment center which has over 6,400 employees, over 70 employers located in the park, over $490 million of public and private investment, and a workforce that's drawn from 20 counties in the upstate region. So from a regional perspective, Griffiths touches a lot of upstate New York, and it really is a bright spot in the upstate economy. Moving forward, things we are concerned about, I thought I was done with BRAC in 1995. I had to deal with it again in 2005. And now there's the potential prospects of a 2015 or a 2017 BRAC, or maybe BRACs in both of those cycles. It is the fact that we are on a downward slope in terms of defense spending. We are dealing with budget sequestration, which in many respects is maybe more dangerous than the BRAC process. But we do understand the BRAC process, and we need to make sure we're operating from a position of strength. We think we've got a great story to tell in terms of the Air Force Research Laboratory and its ability to thrive as part of Griffiths Business and Technology Park, and also the connectivity that the lab has with major parts of the upstate economy, the industrial base, the public and private universities, many of whom are in this room today, and the source of talent that comes out of the engineering schools in New York State that really drive an important industrial cluster, which is cybersecurity, and the information technology world. So, that's a key part. There was some military-based retention funds that were part of last year's budget and are part of this year's budget. So we are trying to focus those resources in areas that will further build a cluster of cybersecurity and also put us in a position where that if we are forced to deal with the BRAC process, we can demonstrate that there are no cost savings for the relocation, and from a military value proposition, there's great harm in terms of trying to break up an important cluster of engineering talent and an important military mission. So that's a key part of our process. The other, one of the very important parts of the Regional Council process is really looking at the fact of trying to help revive the urban communities that make up the Mohawk Valley region. And if you look at going up and down the I-90 corridor and the Mohawk River, you'll see a number of communities that have gone through some hardship in terms of loss of manufacturing, loss of population, faced with aged infrastructure systems, and have high-need populations. And one of the priorities for our regional council is to really try to target some of the investments that will help rebuild some of the infrastructure systems, reclaim brownfield sites, work with communities that have waterfront development initiatives. I'm part of the Harbor Point Local Development Corporation in the city of Utica, which I think has a very interesting opportunity, and try to help reclaim an important part of the urban fabric and the upstate economy. And as we transition to the new economy and the many exciting things that we think are going to happen in our region, the urban corridors will be a location in which people choose to invest and choose to reside. Collaboration and government modernization, I think, is the area that probably needs the greatest amount of attention. We do have a great system of governance that was well suited for the 19th century. And if we look at a 21st century economy, we do have to align our governmental systems so they're efficient, they're cost effective, and they deliver the quality of services that our populations need. We do have some examples where there's been some success. We did have a school consolidation that took place in Herkimer County. We tried with 4 school districts. That didn't work. We got it down to 2 that did merge together, Ilion and Mohawk, and that's underway. And we hopefully will see some more. There are some examples elsewhere within our region, particularly in Oneida County, where there's been some good collaborative efforts in regionalization, consolidation of services. And one that I think it hasn't received a lot of fanfare, but it is really a collaborative effort of shared services between Oneida County and Onondaga County. Oneida County decided to eliminate its coroner services and go to a medical examiner services. Instead of setting up its own medical examiner's office, it decided to enter into a shared agreement with Onondaga County, who is providing that service for Oneida County. A small win for smart government. The one area that we are the most excited about, and it has been a labor of love, some days it's a labor, but usually it's a labor of love, is the potential opportunities that exist over at the SUNY Institute of Technology and the planned development of the Marcy Nano Center initiative and the Quad C project, which is really part of a cross-university partnership between the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering and SUNY Institute of Technology. In the first round of the regional council process, the Quad C project did receive $15 million. That facility is going to break ground this summer, and it'll be a 210,000 square foot facility with over 50,000 square feet of clean room, and that will be the focal point for building off the success that has taken place at the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering and the tremendous investments that have taken place in the capital region. That will give us a nexus for transforming the property directly across the street from the Quad C, which is the Marcy Nano Center site. That's a 428-acre site. We have made significant investments in infrastructure, roads investments. The first round of the regional council did provide funds for a ring road. Did provide funding also to support the replacement and construction of a new county interceptor from the town of Marcy to the city of Utica. That project is fully designed, securing 1 or 2 more easements and a few agency sign-offs. The county will be out to bid, and that basically would be able to provide wastewater needs from north of the Mohawk River, support the development of the Quad C, which its peak flows would be 450,000 gallons a day, and support the Marcy Nano Center site, which could be sized to support 3 450 scale semiconductor plants. And as we move forward, a lot of the investment and a lot of the sweat has gone into making sure that we are in a place where we are basically fitting development timetables for the industry. And Governor, the investments and the announcements you made in 2011 with the Global 450 Consortia Initiative, leading edge R&D has taken place at CNSC, which is the envy of the world, but it's also an opportunity to try to exploit that R&D activity and attract advanced manufacturing jobs to really build a new economy in the upstate corridor. You know, my dreams and my hopes are really to fill in all of the I-90 corridor and really bring back the upstate economy to the area it was really at the turn of the century.
So the key phrase here is, in conclusion. As we look to return to that history of success, when we came the first time to the regional council presentation, we talked about this area as being the beer and chips area. And by this summer, you'll see the shovels in the ground and what we hope is a huge chip opportunity. The beer side has expanded really into agro-manufacturing, which is happening. And if you're in the area the second Sunday of July, you can see them both at the Utica Boilermaker, where we always get a lieutenant governor to run, and we always invite a governor to run. So. Thank you.
Questions?
I had a question and a comment. May I? The question is, where are Rowan's photos?
We blew the whole photo thing. We learned.
The comment is, as you know, the governor is on a weekly basis pushing us to get the project starting as soon as possible. So thank you for all the help.
Well, good job. Why don't we break to about 2:10? Great timing, and we'll see you back here. I think we have refreshments.
Well done.
Sorry.